to Music 101 with your host, Alexxis Steele. Sponsored by Steel Notes Magazine. You can find them at the web, folks, at www.steelnotesmagazine.com.
Hi, this is Alexxis Steele with Music 101. It gives me great pleasure this evening to bring to you Spencer Drate and Judith Salavetz, award-winning album cover designers. How you doing, Spence and Judith?
Well, it's rock and roll here, and
Yeah.
I want to tell the people that Judith and I want to thank you because you did an incredible Steel Notes magazine biography of us years ago, and we were so thrilled about it. And you saw the vision of us as in the music industry, and I want to thank you for that.
Oh, you're quite welcome. You know, it's my pleasure for sure.
So I could start off by telling the audience a little bit about us.
Yes, absolutely.
We were nominated for a Grammy in album packaging and recently National Design Award. We've designed for 24 Rock Hall inductees, and their album design and our album design, is in MoMA, AIGA, and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame archival collections. We have authored 21 pop culture books. I have contributed film and music articles to Punk Globe magazine, and I was also the first album cover designer interviewed on MTV and VH1 by Mark Goodman and Martha Quinn in the 80s. Judith was the first woman album designer interviewed on She Rocks, honoring women in the music and audio industry. And to bring you up to date, presently, we are in a very dynamic Lou Reed NYPL show at Lincoln Center. Our albums that we designed with Sylvia Reed are New York album and Magic and Loss album, which are on display. And the show is going on from June 9th, 2022 to March 4th, 2023. And I've got to tell you, it's beautifully curated and a must-see for anybody. And
Yeah, let's hear more about this. I'm really interested in this. I saw we have a really great picture of you and Judith together, and one on each side.
Yeah.
It says Lou Reed. So this is in New York City, right?
Yeah, it's at the NYPL building, which is located at Lincoln Center in New York City. And it's really a lot of
Lincoln Center. It's the Lincoln Center New York Public Library branch.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, so if people are familiar with Lincoln Center, just, you know, right around the corner from the fountain, you'll find the NYPL Lincoln Center branch. And the show, Alexxis, is unbelievable. I mean, if you are a Lou Reed fan, you cannot miss this show. You cannot. It's guess what? I said Alexxis and my Alexxis went on. Oh my God. Anyway, if you are a Lou Reed fan, again, you cannot miss this show. It's so beautiful. Just like Spencer said, it is so beautifully curated. The show, the visuals that are available, I don't even know where they found. There are letters, there are photographs that I've never seen before. There's music that you can listen to, headphones throughout various rooms. At the very end of the show is this huge room that displays a lot of his album covers, the 45s, and then there are two of ours. We were so blessed, Spencer and I, to have two of our Lou Reed covers that we designed, packages that we designed in this show. But
which
truly,
Judith,
it's everything you want to know about Lou's life from the beginning to the very end, unfortunately. But
yeah, and I've got Judith. I've got to mention that we designed these covers with Sylvia Reed.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Sylvia Reed.
And the thing about the show, which Judith has pointed out, there's a lot of great visual, and also people should know there's a Lou Reed archives at the New York Public Library that people should If they come, they can listen to the music of Lou, and I think visuals are involved. So there's a complimentary thing going on with the show and the Lou Reed archives at NYPL, by the way.
Nice.
So when
So,
we
like-
worked, by the way, I just wanted to add that we worked on those 2 covers for Lou with Sylvia Reed, who was Lou's creative director at the time.
Right.
So yeah, the 3 of us came up with the designs that, you know, are on display.
Very cool. So is this just like anybody can go anytime? It's not like a set time. You just
No.
walk through or what?
Yeah. Anybody could go in at any time. That's a good point.
As long as the library's open.
Right. As long
Okay.
as
Library hours.
just check the hours. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. And I think it's really awesome that you were both like the first album cover designers to ever be interviewed on MTV.
Yeah, I was.
That was Spencer.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
me. But Judith was on She Rocks, which is this incredible event every year honoring women in the music and audio industry. And
Oh, yeah.
So to have Judith as a woman being interviewed in this area, and myself in the other play on MTV is really phenomenal. We're very honored about that also. And we're also, there's a very interesting thing about us. We're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame archival collection, but they gave us our own little house, you might call it. So we're the only music designers that you can see our work. There's no other music designer you can see their work. It's just our work. And that was the year that Lou Reed and Joan Jett were inducted. And that was another big thing. And our 2 Lou Reed covers that we're talking about were on the screen at the Lou Reed induction, which was another big thing.
I also want to add that She Rocks is the international. It's an international women's network is honoring every year. They honor a certain number of women, as Spencer had mentioned, in the world of in the business of music in all aspects. It's not just musicians. It's musicians. It's executives. It's people. It's educators. It's manufacturers. It's just trailblazers. I mean, I don't know why you're not. One of these days, you're going to be honored, Alexxis. We're going to present your name, but this year, one of their top people that they're for the 2022, I think, what was her name? Oh gosh, they're honoring, or I think it's already happened, Dionne Warwick.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it's really it's a wonderful organization supporting women in music.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, so now you have a lot. You have your albums, you have your 45 special CD packaging that you both designed. And Spencer, you have some pictures for us?
I have the albums. I have everything ready, and we'll go into it right now. So we're gonna go over my life first, my albums that I designed, and then we'll segue into Judith and myself.
Okay.
And this will be a collection starting off with the LPs, the second category 45s, and the third category special CD packaging. So I'll lead off with my life. I originally started with ESP disc, and this album, a group called the Gots, and the illustration montage by Dennis Pohl, I thought was so dynamic. And he later designed for very famous jazz albums after this. But he was a visionary artist, and I love this cover. No type on the front, great artwork. What can I say, right?
Yeah, of course.
The second, when I started was starting now with Sire Records, when I started work with such a great record label, it had all the famous punk groups on it. Anyway, this is an album called Love Goes On, a group called Al de Reserve. And the front cover was hand painted by Brad Ellis, the lead singer. And the back is a very nice photograph of the group.
Nice.
And that was in a lot of shows, this album cover. It was, it's a very simple cover.
I dare you to see the A and the R in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Just
right.
kidding.
Right, yeah.
Just kidding.
The next album, I'm sure, now we're going into the big boys. The first album of the Ramones,
Yeah.
Road to Ruin, very famous. John Holmstrom artwork. The poster of this point of purchase poster is in the MoMA permanent collection. This album is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame collection. And it's one of the most famous albums, as you well know. The back is a great photograph by Danny Fields, the manager at that time, who did a beautiful photograph of the group. Next album in the line of the Ramones is End of the Century. One of the most famous albums. Phil Spector produced it. Mick Rock did the front cover photo. We miss Mick. He passed away this year, one of the great rock photographers of our time, and very close friends with me and Judith, by the way. What makes this album is interesting, the inner sleeve, I took the leather jacket photograph that Mick gave me in color and converted it into a posterized photograph. Nice. And the group loved this picture. They went crazy over this picture, and they used it on 45s overseas. You know? But this was I didn't have that many photographs to work with. The next album is famous, Talking Heads, Fear of Music. I co-designed with Talking Heads. This was nominated for a Grammy Award in album packaging. This is in the MoMA permanent collection, and so many books and all kinds of things.
Spencer, bring it up to the camera closer. It's hard to see the texture on that, Alexis.
Yeah, there's an embossed deck, what they call deck plate pattern, which was a concept of Jerry Harrison of the group. And I worked on the typography with David Byrne. And I integrated also a Dayglow green on the type, which is very good. So the front and back is the deck plate design, which makes it nice. There's no barcode. The interesting story is this was the last album to be printed without a barcode. How do you like that story?
How about that?
So that made the whole concept complete, you know? That's what really made it. The next album is for an artist named Robert Ellis, Oral Fixation, and a front cover illustration by David Gambale, and the front goes with the back.
That's very interesting.
Isn't that a cool cover? It's like front to back work. Yeah, the front and back are this was on a lot of shows. And what got me on MTV was this album, multi-platinum, Billy Squier.
Billy Squier.
Yeah, and it's funny, Tony Bon Jovi at his famous Power Station ran around with this cover saying to all the artists that were in there at that day, they said, this is what an album cover should look like, rock album. And so, yeah, this was Billy's big album. This is what he calls, whenever he plays, he says, this is the album. This was the album that really made him, you know, of all the albums he ever did. And Jeffrey Hargrave Thomas did the photograph. I converted it into a color Xerox to give it the raw feeling of the album, which is very raw, by the way, raw sound by the great producer Reinhold Mack, who did stuff for Queen. So I wanted to integrate the feeling of the cover to go with the sound, which is very raw. And I think this does that.
Yeah.
Next album, Peter C. Johnson, great artist. This is an overseas album, but it's a really cool front and back cover.
Yeah.
You know, so this was a very nice cover. And then we're going to go into Meeting Judith in 1982. I was working on an album from Marshall Crenshaw, which won an AIGA Cover Show Award, and Annie Leibovitz was a judge then and voted it in. And why can't I get this album straight? Okay, so it's color tinted, photographed by Gary Green. It won a lot of design awards. Judith and I put this together, and it's a beautiful, I think, one of our favorite covers.
By the way, that was the table that Marshall had in his apartment.
Oh,
right,
yeah?
We found that out. Yeah,
that was his table.
Yeah, we found that out.
Yeah, I think the teapot as well.
So look at the back cover. See, that's what makes the album work.
Yeah.
So we got the table that Judith's talking about with all the stuff on it with the credits, but it really works together beautifully.
Yeah.
And what she used, the artist who did the color tinting used oil-based paints. So this makes it very brilliant, the printing,
nice,
you know, from the original, which is very, you don't get that, right? The next cover, Judith and I, Joe Jett.
Oh yeah, that's a very famous one there.
Very famous cover, no type on the front. So when the photograph was given to us, I said no type on the front, and that's this beautiful cover, which is actually this is the back. Robert Ellis, black and white. I surrounded it with color. We surrounded it with color photographs, and the inner panel.
Oh yeah, a lot of different photos.
A lot of different black and white live photos surrounded with the Mick Rock photo in the center.
I think who is it? Meryl Laguna gave us zillions of photographs.
Right.
Spencer and I gave Meryl. Tell him who Meryl Laguna is, Spencer.
Well, Meryl Laguna and Kenny Laguna managed Joan Jett. So Meryl had a big play with the visuality of every album. Also the styling. Whenever we went to a photo shoot, Meryl was with the stylist. She had a big play in the visuality, picking photographs or what we to use. And then from there, Judith and I picked those photographs and made them into the component of a design. But she was basically, I would call her the art director because she overlooked it. But she had a big play in the visuality of the albums that we designed for Joan. We did a number of them, actually. The next album is the famous, Judith will know this, Bon Jovi, with a front to back photograph, single shot by Jeffrey Thomas, color tinted. #1 album, this first album, had the famous single Runaway. And we have a little story about this.
By the way, I was the stylist for the group on that one.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Was the stylist.
Cool.
And, but John brought the cassette up to the office and I heard it. Judith can tell you the story.
Well, no. So before when we actually got the job, John, not many people knew who he was. He was playing around in New Jersey, so they were Jersey band. But he came to the studio with his cassette that was going to be the single. Is that correct, Spencer?
Yep, that was it.
And Spencer put it into our cassette player because what we like to do is we like to hear the music before we go forward and decide on, design. It helps us. So there we are, the three of us, John Bon Jovi, Spencer Drate, Judith Salavetz, listening to Runaway, right?
Wow.
We had just recorded at the studio. And so he subsequently, John, so says this is going to be the single. He leaves, and then I turn to Spencer. I go, Spencer, no, who said it first? You or me, Spencer? You said, "Oh my God, what?"
Yeah. So Judith says to me, "This is going to sell 1 million," and I go to her immediately and say, "Yeah, right." and I had to live that down because Billy Squier, I had no problem. Like, I'm just giving you the example. Billy Squier had no problem. Every song on there is unbelievable if you hear that album, went multi-platinum. But when I heard Runaway, it was like, Liz, she's a little runaway, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'm thinking, oh, yeah, right. God.
Yeah, but
so Judith never let him live that down, right?
Break. I mean,
never lived it down.
This guy, do you remember John Bon Jovi and those? I mean, not that he's not a hunk today, but this like amazing, an Adonis of a rock and roll singer, right? With this amazing voice comes into your office and plays this very catchy tune. But I mean, he's beautiful, I said to myself, this guy is really going to be a superstar. And sure enough, too bad we didn't go along with it.
Yeah, too bad you didn't put a bet on that. You would have been rich.
Oh my God. He like blossomed and he just superstar. But he was always such a lovely human being. He came to the studio so many times because he wanted to be a part. This was his first big album cover and album, and he wanted to be a part of it in every way. So even if he just sat on our couch, he just wanted to be there. And by the way, my son was 3 years old at the time, and I would bring him to the studio. And when John walked in, what he would do is sit on the floor with Justin, my son, and just play with Justin while Spencer was that busy. In those days we had paste ups and mechanicals, no computers. And John in the room in the studio with my We didn't have iPhones in those days, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I didn't
right.
have any pictures.
So
Best
that was
babysitter ever.
right. And so we'll go to our next album. Judith and I start to work with Sylvia Reed. Waring Abbott was the photographer for Lou Reed, called me up in the studio and says, Lou needs a portfolio. And he suggested us, sent the portfolio down. And I couldn't believe it. Sylvia walks into our office and a whole thing started. We designed with her with Lou Reed albums, Velvet Underground box set, Velvet Underground 93 tour. But let's
Nice.
show, these covers are in the show we're talking about, the Lou Reed show. This is the New York album,
Mhm.
a composite photograph from an old photograph concept that Lou liked of what they called old Men in an Alley was the title of it. Men in an Alley by a photographer, an old photograph. And it's all composited on a computer. And I thought of using type at the top that the background would show through, you know.
This was
Right.
Alexxis, a 1930s photograph that was found. We don't know the name of the photographer is unknown, but each individual pose in the original photograph was a different man, and so the idea, I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure if it was Sylvia's idea, but each one of those that you see on the cover is Lou.
Yeah, I think that was
Replace
Lou.
them with
I
Lou.
think that was Lou's idea.
Well, that was Lou's idea.
But the thing that makes it is I was on the I had to be with the separator on the computer a lot, putting these figures together in the shadows and everything. And Warner Brother calls me up and says, Spencer, stop going to the computer, the separator. It's costing us a lot of money, but I eventually got it right. It's a beautiful cover. It's a slightly tinted green on it with black and white. It gives it a little extra little thing. And, it's very famous. It's in the show. It's in the show going on right now as we're talking about at Lincoln Center. And so the second album we worked on after that with Sylvia Reed, who, by the way, was a great designer. She was like the design consultant for Lou, and she was nominated for a Grammy for Songs of Drella album, by the way. People don't know that. Anyway, this is Magic and Loss. I composited the typography. Judith worked with Sylvia on a number of things, including the symbols that are put on the album. Beautiful black and white photograph by Louis Jamais. That was photographed Lou in Paris. And he put Louis Jamais, as you notice the photograph, it's almost like a piece of painting. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, right.
Right. And, so these two albums are in that Lou Reed show. The next album I'll show you is a classic. Bob Gruen calls me up and says, Spence, you want to do Dee Dee's next album? I said, oh, of course. So Judith and I started with this. I got Bob Gruen photographs, and I just said, these photographs are great. I'm going to put them front to back. Judith and I decided. And then the front logo, Judith's idea, totally. Judith, tell us about the logo.
It's it's funny. Spencer and I were having dinner at this, I can't remember the name of the restaurant in the East Village. And it's huge it have this huge outdoor area. And the font of this particular restaurant is the same font that's on Dee Dee's album cover.
Wow.
I saw it. I said, "That's the font I want to use. Let's use that." And it worked.
And also Pat Kernan was the guy who put the logo together from Judith's concept. So we got to give him credit here, Pat Kernan.
Yeah.
Who did a lot of work with us at CBS Records, special packaging we did for CBS.
And the pink sort of lightens it up, Alexxis.
Yeah, right.
A little more. Unfortunately, the album didn't do too well, but
no, it wasn't. It was like, what they would say. They say the album is not good, but buy it for the cover. That's what.
Yeah, right.
So this is a very famous multi-platinum album, The Fabulous Thunderbirds. Jimmy Vaughn was in the group. Eric Clapton regarded Jimmy Vaughn as his favorite guitarist. We worked with them. Bob but it's a great story. The front is this artwork done by Dan Youngblood, a Native American, who Jimmy Vaughn gave us the photograph. And he goes up to CBS for a major meeting, and he gets on the phone with me, and he asked me what I should tell them. And I never did this before, but I said, Jimmy, tell them this is the cover. In other words, I didn't say ask them. Like, these are the biggest honchos at CBS. I said, tell them this is the cover.
Well, Spencer and I had a meeting about it prior to that. And we said, we can't do anything else. This has got to be the front cover.
Got to be the cover. So what happens is I get a call about 3 hours later from Pat Clifford, who was handling the A&R, and he says, Spencer, you're going to get fired. So I said, okay. I had Judith and I had moralistic ideals that this was so strong a cover that this had not a photograph of the group that they wanted. This has got to be the cover. And by the way, in the back are the pictures of the group. Big deal. Right. So what happened is then I get a call. Wait a minute. So let me finish the story. So a couple of hours later, I get a call, Pat telling me this is the cover. It is the cover. So that was a very interesting story, you know. But it was so moralistic as the designers to.
Well, this is beautiful art. Of course, you want to put beautiful art on the cover if you have it.
Right, sure.
Yeah.
So Judith, tell us about this one.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. It's just, it was, Victory. Come on, it's, it's hard rock, and I don't know. I just had this idea of, it's hard rock and roll, sex, drugs.
So that was your idea for the V like that?
Yeah, it was my idea.
But Jeffrey Thomas.
The women's movement would probably
kill it.
Yeah, right.
For doing that.
But Jeffrey Thomas is the photographer, and he had this feeling like Helmut Newton. So if you see this photograph, it's almost like a Helmut Newton photograph in a way. And he did the photograph, and it's anytime we were interviewed in books or magazines in Japan, the United States, wherever, they wanted this cover to be shown in our work. There was no doubt about it. Every major media piece that was done on us and written in magazine, like I'm saying, or anything, they wanted this cover in the book or in the magazine article. It was such a striking cover.
I think graphically, it just is so strong. And I mean, if you saw this in a store record, you're like going through the record, you see, I mean, what music is on that record? It's heavy metal.
Yeah.
So,
and these were friends of the Scorpions also, people want to know. It was part of, it came out of David Krebs, the manager of Victory, and he also handled the Scorpions, right, at Lieber Krebs. So that was another thing. This is our latest album. Right. And this was a combination of Judith, myself, and her son, Justin Cavusi, on this album. Nice. Keith Carter, a great comic artist, did the front cover, no type again. And this is one of our favorite. This is a great cover. The front and back is, you can hardly see it actually. It's like a neon green. It's a hand signal that they use as a festival.
And pull out the record, Spencer.
Yeah, so the record, you get like what you call a one sheet, and that has the credits, the photographs. Nice. The green is this theme going on, and the back is the hand with the signal.
Yeah.
The record comes in a white inner sleeve, and this is like a neon green record.
Oh wow, that's neat. Yeah.
And so the front and back.
Very cool.
And what we did on the one sheet, it's very interesting. Instead of having side one and side two like every album has, we had a picture of side one and a picture of side two, so that you didn't have you had the picture, so that when you saw the album with the label, with no type on it, by the way.
No, the label.
Yeah, the label is like.
So that's side one, and then show side two.
And no type too. We're able to get away with no type.
What songs are on what side.
Right.
So that's where the latest design very, very well. And now we'll go into the 45 area where I did some of these. This is the Pretenders, very famous 45s. Stop Your Sobbing, very big hit with them.
Nice.
Front and back. The Ramones, Don't Come Close, which is an all type. I thought because of the letters are all same count, I said, why don't I just stack them up, and make a sleeve out of it. And but the front cover is kind of cool, kind of dynamic.
Yeah.
This is a very famous cover. Take Me to the River, Talking Heads, which was in a MoMA show, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a really great thing. Used Letraset for the waves. In the old days, they had a thing called Letraset. You got artwork and pressed it down. So, but this is a very striking cover. Next one is Talking Heads, Cities.
Nice.
Yeah. A group called The Plastics did the artwork. I did the typography. And our last one, I Zimbra. And that's on the Fear of Music album, in fact. And this is machinery, industrial type of feeling going on through the album and the 45, the pictures. So that's the, and then
I mean, Spencer, I wanted to say that every one of those 45s that Spencer just showed you were done on what's called paste up and mechanicals. He did not do them on a computer.
Oh,
it
wow.
was hours of laborious work trying to straighten out, making sure the size of the fonts. It was in the old days. It wasn't as easy as like instantaneous today.
Right.
We'd have to order he'd have to order the size of the font, and sometimes, like 3, 4, 5 sizes just to see what fits. And then
Was that like a stencil?
Well, this was like this type on here, for instance, is Letraset, which had all the typefaces. You pressed it down on a piece of paper, and I had a good eye for alignment.
Alexis, it's like the fonts are they're on a transparent sheet, and then you press them down onto the mechanical board that you're working on. That mechanical board is what goes to the printer.
I see.
It's like painstakingly laborious to measure everything out. And Spencer was actually a pro at that. He was so, like if you're looking at the CIT, like the distance from the C to the I, and then the distance from the I to the T.
Yeah.
It's perfectly equally distance measured, but that had to be done by hand, not by a computer. And it was hours and hours and hours of work.
Yeah, but I was really good at it.
I was not good at that. I became the expert on the computer, but Spencer did the paste up and mechanicals.
I was in the I was expert in the dinosaur world, Judith, right? In the dinosaur world, I was excellent. But now let's go into CD packaging. This is the last category. So we did this for an artist named Joseph Arthur, and I saw a bird, this bird art in his studio. I said, this is it. Judith really did most of this CD. This is on letterpress. This is what makes this CD really phenomenal. So you could really press on.
It's really nice to touch, Alexis. It's like a matte, really like an organic piece of paper. It's just beautiful to hold in your hand.
Yeah, so this was like a limited edition. It cost a lot of money, but it's beautiful, I thought.
And it's his art. Joseph Arthur did all the art.
Yeah, Joseph Arthur.
As well as the music. He was the music.
This is for the Beach Boys, a classic. This one won awards also. It's a multi-panel. So you open it up and you got Robert Lynn Nelson is the painter, his photographs.
That's neat.
With a poster, and it's like the group was I had to call up Dean Torrance, who did the logo for Beach Boys, and he told me on the phone, usually you want to know the background of a group you're working with, and Dean told me they fire people a lot. So that's the first thing I heard. But Judith and I, they loved it. They loved this album.
Well, they actually fired the designers that gave them something on this prior to coming to us.
Mm.
Oh,
They just
yeah.
fired. Actually, there were some famous people. I can't remember. I can't mention their names. They didn't like their design, and they gave us a week in which to do it all.
Right.
And we did it. We came to the
Yeah, I mean,
challenge. We met the challenge.
The multi-panel is the big key to this, because Robert Lynn Nelson gave Mike Love and the group these paintings on transparencies, and it had to be a multi-panel. There was no question about it. And to pick the format that we did at that time was perfect. So you have a continuity flow in the multi-panels going front to back.
Yeah, no
And so
plastic,
that really made
none
it.
of that plastic jewel box.
You know, oh God, no.
Right.
And by the
Right.
way, Alexxis, if anybody ever has a chance to, if you own that CD and you look at that illustration closely, the painting, the illustrator did that specifically. It was he did it for Mike Love, and in the picture you'll see a sailboat. That's Mike's sailboat, and you'll see a young woman or a woman in a bikini, and that's Mike's girlfriend.
Oh, wow.
Just a little,
Yeah.
bits of info that people don't know.
That's the girl.
Oh,
Yeah,
there
that's
you
Mike's
go.
girlfriend. And where's the sailboat?
Nice.
But this is a great package. It won awards and stuff. So I'll go on to the next one. The Lou Reed metal box, which was a pro only, not even sold, but people bought it.
Oh,
They got it
wow.
in stores.
I don't even own a copy of that. Spencer.
And this is with a like a burned out disc, and then you got the lyrics in a booklet that adhere to the metal cover.
I mean, if you've ever listened to that package, that it was a dedication. It's about death and dedication to some of the people. I believe that Lou.
Right.
The last package we're going to talk about is a limited edition, the Velvet Underground, the live 1993 tour with a peel off bananas color form concept by actually Sylvia Reed, but we designed it.
Spencer, there's a banana missing.
Yeah, I know. That's bound to happen. This is a Dayglow disc where the Dayglow bananas and a yellow background are Dayglow colors. Really beautiful disc.
Nice.
This was this is a beautiful limited edition package that went with the album. And
Can you show
I think
them
that sort of sums. Wait a
Spencer,
minute.
show them that the banana peels off. Peel off the banana.
I don't want it, Judith.
Oh, okay. I just thought it'd be cool to show.
So anyway, that's our packaging synopsis, and we did a very important thing. We did 245 books. At the time, they were doing a lot of LP books, and so we decided to do the history of the 45. Now the story is all the publishers turned it down except for Princeton Architectural Press. The book was called 45 RPM in 2002. It ended up being sold out, 22,500 copies by 2019. And then Judith and I did the 545 book, which was published by Harper Design. And that's the book that's out. Now, the first book, 45 RPM, was the beginning of the vinyl resurgence in 2002, literally. And after we did our 45 books, other people were doing 45 books, to tell you the truth.
Oh,
So
really?
we were the first one. The 45 RPM book is very big, and the 545 books are very important in our lives. We were interviewed on Sirius XM with Marky Ramone. I was interviewed about the Ramones. We were also interviewing our cousin Brucey show with our 45 book, and Volume recently, which is a very big music show on Sirius XM with Mark Goodman and Alan Light, all about album cover design, with Judith and I were guests. That was a very big show. And I don't know, we've done our HDTV series on best album packaging, and also another series of famous music designers, which is on YouTube, which is like a learning tool series. Very, very important series to watch.
Is this the
And-
Indie Cafe too?
Yeah, and then we have that's different. Then we have our Indie Cafe 2 show, which Judith and I interview with Patrick Bumbarak, our third co-host. We interview famous people in pop culture, music, film, authors, music authors.
And Patrick himself is a musician.
Yeah, and Patrick is a
Okay.
musician and actually has his own HD show on the side, but he co-hosts the show with us, is a wonderful guy. And it's like a Zoom interview that you have, a StreamYard they call it. And it's like you can see and hear everything like we are doing right now, which is great.
Okay.
You know, that's a big thing I think that you have and we have, is that we can present things like our life and
Yeah.
people can see it, right, Alexxis?
Yeah, that's the cool thing about it, right?
Yeah.
They get to see each other, they get to see us, they get to see things.
Right.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to note, the last thing is
Visuals.
they had a Howl music event at the Howl Gallery on our life. It was called "It's a Long Way to the Top," which used to be the title of this show. It's about all our work and our life, our stories, with a panel that included John Holmstrom, who was on the Ramones album I worked on, and also Sylvia Reed was on the panel in 2017. That was an amazing show. It was packed house. It was all about our life and music, and we were very honored to have that done in our life. And of course, we're very honored to be on this show because Alexxis is a big thing in our life, you know.
Yeah, right?
Thank you. Yes.
So I don't know,
Yes.
maybe we summed it all up already, you know?
I don't know. We talked about the Sirius XM radio interviews with Marky Ramone, right? Mark Goodman and Alan Light
Right.
interview.
Yeah, the album design show, Mark called me up and said, would you and Judith come on the show? That's a big one, the album design. And Marky did a whole thing with his show on the Ramones, and all these different stories came out. Like, I didn't even know the Ramones liked me. All of them liked me. You know,
Well, that's
really
cool.
liked our
They
design.
should, because you made great covers.
Yeah,
You're
the
such
great,
a
and they
likable
saw those
person,
covers. They
Spencer.
liked the covers. You're right, Alexxis. They liked
Yeah,
the
and I
covers.
know Marky Ramone interviewed. Marky's a great guy. I've done 2 interviews
Oh.
with Marky, and Marky's great.
I love him, man. We're like
Mm-hmm.
co-brothers. I mean, this guy is, Judith and I have met him before also. Judith has met him. And he's a big guy in my life. You know, a really wonderful guy. Great
Yes.
drummer, right? Alexxis, a great drummer. Very
Yes,
important.
that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. So also on that Making Vinyl event, you had the keynote speaker, Jack White.
Yeah,
was there too,
well,
right?
Making Vinyl event, I'm glad you brought that up. That's a big vinyl event every year, co-founded by Larry Jaffe, who has a Record Store Day book, which is very big, out, and Brian Eckes. And we just interviewed Brian, in fact, because the event is in June 23rd and 24th in Nashville this year. But it's a big vinyl event. Jack White has spoken at the event. And Michael Kurtz, who co-founded Record Store Day, spoke at it. And many, little Steven Van Zandt spoke at it. Very famous music people.
Little
spoke at this
Steven.
event. Yeah, every year it's sold out, and it is this year. And you go on makingvinyl.com to see what it's all about. And we have packaging awards, which Judith and I judge every year since 2017. We're very honored to do that. And great packaging, absolutely phenomenal packaging, vinyl packaging entered in different categories, 45s, LPs, box sets, you know. And so that's a big event every year. We love.
Well, yeah, because of the big vinyl resurgence, you know.
Vinyl, oh yeah, big vinyl resurgence. Billboard had a big article on it in December 2021. The fact that a lot of these famous artists like McCartney and Lady Gaga literally got to #1 because of their amazing vinyl production that they did on their albums. Boosted their sale into #1, you know. But there's a lot of artists like that. Vinyl is back and big, and they said
Yeah.
they'd have 1 billion sales by 2022. 1 billion sales of vinyl. That's big time.
Mhm. So now we also had the Record Store Day book with
Larry
Larry
Jaffe.
Jaffe.
Larry Jaffe, co-founder of Making Vinyl. This book is out now. I go to a number of book signings. In fact, Judith and I are going Saturday to a book signing at the New York Public Library in New York with Ken Dashow from iHeart in New York, who's going to be speaking, and a good friend also. But anyway, Larry's book is all about Record Store Day and vinyl. It's got everybody in it. He's got Jack White in it. He's got famous records labels in it. He's got Michael Kurtz in it. Iggy Pop's in it. All these famous people who supported vinyl are in this book, and it's a wonderful book. Everybody should buy it. Actually, it's in paperback. You know.
No, absolutely.
Vinyl is in, Alexis. Vinyl is back.
Yeah, no, I hear it. Yeah, definitely. I don't have a record player, but you know, I remember growing up, that's all we had was vinyl, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I was raised on that, right? I mean,
the
early Buddy Holly albums or whatever, Elvis albums.
Mine was the Beatles, Hard Day's Night. That was the first one.
Yeah, really?
For my 7th birthday. My sister got it for my 7th birthday. Yeah.
Oh, that's great, man.
Still have it?
No, I wish I did.
Right.
I didn't think about those things back then when you're younger about, you know, the stuff like that was going to go away and then come back or whatever, you know what I mean? I had all kinds of Monkees albums, Black Sabbath, the Stones, Zeppelin, you know?
Yep. And, you know,
Santana.
Oh, yeah. And some of those album covers, like Led Zeppelin one with the dirigible blowing up, you know, those are classic album covers. The Beatles had lots of the Rubber Soul and Beatles for Sale album with a beautiful Robert Freeman photograph. I mean, the Beatles had a lot of great
Sgt. Pepper's.
Sgt. Pepper.
Right, Sgt. Pepper. And like the Stones, they had their Sticky Finger, Alice Cooper with their designs, and the one that they had the underwear.
Well, I'll tell you Sticky Finger's story. The album came out originally with a real zipper on it, and what happened was they had a major disaster because when they packed the albums with the zipper on a 3-dimensional level, it destroyed the album above it. It imprinted. So they had a lot of returns. And in fact, Atlantic was going to sue Andy Warhol.
Oh, really?
Wow. There were so many albums that rejected and came back destroyed because of the zipper. So eventually they had to take the 3-dimensional zipper off. If you have that, that's worth a lot of money.
Oh,
and
sure.
Of course, the printed zipper comes, you know, normal, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Great story, though, about Sticky Fingers.
Yeah. Yeah, lots of great covers, like the Alice Cooper's School's Out, and the one, you know, had the underwear, you know, and all that.
Yeah, I did the series we have on HD. One is the, as I was talking about, the famous music designer series, interviews with
Learning Tool.
But the second one, 10-episode series on best packaging, that has 45s, LPs, and special CD packaging episodes, and the covers are phenomenal. I got to tell you, it's on YouTube, but it's a great learning tool if you're into the visuality of albums, 45s, and box sets or special packaging to see this interview. It's no one ever did it. And I decided, hey, let's do this. You know what I mean? It's like a set of thing. But it's a beautiful series on YouTube, by the way.
Very cool. Awesome. So what's next for you two? What's in the works?
We're gonna. I think this was a very big interview. First of all, I want to say thank you very much for having us on. This is a very big interview in our life.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're quite welcome.
Yeah, and I think Judith and I, we're going to go to a Larry Jaffe book signing on Saturday. We've got a very big music event tomorrow at City Winery with Alexandra Escobedo, one of the most phenomenal musicians we're interviewing at the end of this month on our show. And so gradually, and then we have a venue called Connections, who's going to video interview us on the 22nd, an event in New York. So there's a lot of stuff coming up for us coming in.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we could get together again sometime in New York City.
Oh, yeah.
It's been too long.
Yeah, I hope so. I love you, dear.
Yeah, love you too.
I mean, I mean, you like I said, that Steel Notes article on us. I really is a beautiful article. I never forgot. I still don't forget it. It's a great article. Still have it. So
Yeah,
I'm
well,
proud
we
of
have
it.
to do more in the future, you know?
Yeah, I love it. And thank you for having us on.
Yeah, thank you so much for Spence and Judith for coming on. I know you guys are really busy and taking time out of your schedule. I know we had a couple snafus on trying to get it connected, but we finally did.
Yep. And sometimes you love those snafus. They're like,
Right?
you live with the snafus.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and you've had some really good interviews. I noticed you've had some really cool interviews on your show.
Thanks.
Very good stuff. So
Yeah, it was taking kind of a little bit break, but I gotta, get on the stick again, get some more,
hey, listen, you got to
things
see
out.
Alexxis. You got to come in and see the Lou Reed show at the.
Oh yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah. I mean, you really love that.
It's going to be there for a while, thank goodness. And
March.
it's really worth seeing.
Well, yeah, it's going to be there till March, so hopefully, I will get to see it.
Yeah, it's definitely worth seeing. It's just so.
All right,
sweet.
well, Spence and Judith.
Yeah, and I want to just say before I leave this, it was good timing to have the show now that we just got into the Lou Reed show, so everybody could hear about it.
Right, yeah.
So that was good timing on this show. Anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's okay. That's quite all right.
Yep.
That's quite all right. Well, hopefully, I tell everybody to go out and see it. Like you said, it's from June until next March, so there's plenty of time to go and see it, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And we're just going to keep an eye out. We're going to keep an eye out and see what's next. What other award-winning album cover designers are going to come from Spence and Judith in the future?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're like, I think we're very involved, like you are, with radio or the HD shows that we have, the interviewing people and helping them, like you do, helping people turn people on to the world.
Yeah.
I think with the COVID was very big, right? With COVID.
Right. Yeah. Well, COVID really helped us with the Zoom and it just kind of stuck, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a good thing because, we can see each other even though we're not physically there. So, that's a cool thing.
I was doing Blog Talk, a co-host since 2010, a lot of interviews in the area of pop culture, and music and film and so forth. But anyway, it was too restrictive, couldn't see anything, right? And if you have a visual person on, I remember I had a Grammy Award packaging winner on our show. And I said, what am I doing? What am I even having him on for? I can't see anything he did. You know what I mean? And then Zach Martin, who founded New HD, loved us, interviewed us in a 3-part series, and literally said to me, Spencer, why don't you and Judith have a show? And then all of a sudden, boom. And Patrick came into our life through Zach, and we knew him before. And it's a beautiful, it's a beautiful family-oriented type thing. And, it's what you do. And it's like, I love the see and hear thing, Alexxis.
Absolutely.
And you're right. Personal is big.
Touching. We're just missing the touching part.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, right. Next thing is
someday.
Right.
Exactly. Someday. Well, Spence and Judith, it was great talking to you tonight.
Yeah,
glad you guys we could make it happen. And like I said, everybody go out and see this Lou Reed in New York City from June until March. And we're going to catch up with Spence and Judith again to see what they've got going in the future.
Oh, we'd love to be on again. We'd love to be on, Alexxis. You're
absolutely. And hopefully we're going to make another show, maybe at Otto's Shrunken Head again.
Hey, cool, man.
Okay.
Hey, right.
Right.
And
we'll be live, not Memorex. All right. Well, hey, Spence and Judith, have a great night. And we'll see you soon.
Until the next time.
You're listening to Music 101 with your host, Alexxis Steele. Sponsored by Steel Notes Magazine. You can find them at the web, folks, at www.steelnotesmagazine.com.